Well, some really impressive renderings, to be honest with you, from the city of Jacksonville and the Jags about the new stadium. The update is, I don't really know what to call it. So you got to remember that the Gator Bowl has been in Jacksonville in one form or another since the 30s, I think. And, this is going to be the most substantial update to it since 1996, and uh, perhaps the most updated ever. I stand corrected. It was 1927 that it was built. I think Georgia and Florida have been playing there since 33. So that's kind of where I got my confusion. But they in 94 and 95, of course, Georgia and Florida went to their campuses to play games. But if you're looking at this thing, I'm just going to tell you, if you don't like Jacksonville, if you think they should play home and home, they're not going to be playing home and home. Not with this update. I mean, it looks like a brand new stadium. Jacksonville, and I have complained for a long time that there's a lot of stuff that needs to get better with Jacksonville as far as the Georgia-Florida game is concerned, and there is a lot of stuff that needs to get better. Too much of this game is not does not reflect how good of a game it is, how important a game it is, not just for both teams, but for the city of Jacksonville. And this update, obviously it was for the Jags. I mean, I'm not confused here, but when you look at how nice it is, I'm gonna try to get it on the screen real quick. When you look how nice it is, I mean, it's definitely the real deal, and as far as I can tell. It is. Actually, I'm going to stick it on the screen real quick here. I'm going to do it on Dawg Post, though. That'll be the easiest way for me to handle it and make sure nothing crazy happens. Here it is right here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. When you take a look at, I mean, it doesn't look necessarily drastically different. The roof up here, y'all can't see my mouse. The roof is supposed to, the so-called roof, that's supposed to knock down on 70% of the heat. We'll see about that. A lot of this stuff doesn't really change a lot. You've got half Florida, half Georgia. You've still got a massive upper deck, but it's the concourse. Now, keep in mind that Jacksonville, you can't walk around the stadium. You have to go underneath on the ground level to walk from one side of the stadium all the way around the stadium. You can't do that in Jacksonville. It's not a great setup. I mean, I talk about this a lot, but right now, when you see what they've got up there, I mean, it looks nice. It looks nice. The concourse is 30 feet above ground, so you're not going to be walking on the ground anymore. It's 360 degrees. So this is Jacksonville's play to stay Georgia, Florida for a long, long time. This is Jacksonville's play to the Jags not to move, not to play games in Europe half the time. Make sure you're picking up our 2023 preview. Not a lot about the Gators in here, but there is a lot about Brock Bowers, Carson Beck, the Georgia run game. It's just content you're not going to be able to get out anywhere else. We're not putting it online. It's exclusive to the magazine. When you pick up Double Dogs, you get 2023 preview included. You can get it at You can get it at see Dog Structure on the table. You can pick it up at Red Zone. They'll be happy to give you the book and the magazine for when you come in there, when you pay for it. So I think this is I'm going to stick the stadium back up there just real quick because I think Jacksonville. You can see to the right over here the club seating in the red area on the far right hand part of the screen. You can see it in the Gator section too. It's just not as obvious. Those parts of the stadium are already club, but they're going to. You can also see it looks like they already have two levels of club, but they're going to have really sort of a VIP there in the middle. It looks like. I think the biggest thing to me, as much as I've talked about this game, as much as I know this game. This had to happen. I know this is more for the Jags than anybody else, but you don't get the Jags if you don't have Georgia, Florida first. And Jacksonville is trying to make a big splash. They've got a new mayor. But this has been in the works for a long time. And the city, I mean, talking to people on the ground there this morning, the city's very excited about their future. But this is a play on, trying to get the college football playoff to be down there. There were three things happening at once here. Oh, well, multiple things, really. The previous mayor was desperate, correctly, to keep this game, Georgia, Florida, in Athens. The previous mayor, and I'm sure the current mayor, all the people down there, you can't lose an NFL team. And, Georgia, Florida is great and everything, but it's not the consistent beat drum for national publicity like an NFL team is. And, I don't know that the Jags are going to play more games, that extra game. They're playing 2 games in Europe this year. Only one of them's a home game. But you can't really have that. I mean, you need to play at your home stadium. And if you're Jacksonville, you can feel this thing slipping a little. I don't know about slipping away, but you can feel it slipping. They desperately needed something new. And the city owns this stadium. So, it's going to be up to the city and the Jags to do this. Now, by the way, just as a political rant, this is the way you're supposed to do it. It shouldn't just be that the people in town pay for a stadium they don't control. Jacksonville controls this stadium. Otherwise, my opinion is that the Jags should be paying for all of it. Well, they're not, because it's not exclusively the Jags stadium. That's not the case in other places like Atlanta, where, you have the taxpayers paying for a stadium that they don't control or own. So anyway, I think for Jacksonville, this is an awesome thing. It gives them the ability to, I think they will get a college football playoff game, very possibly a national championship game. I mean, you look at it, you want to go play there. You want to play in the nicest facilities. You want to play at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, speaking of it. You want to play in, there's not a lot of other places. I mean, Mercedes-Benz is very, very, very nice. And if you're Jacksonville, you can't really, if you're the Jags, you can't really let Atlanta get so far in front of you. If you're a municipal leader, you can't let Atlanta's already in front of Jacksonville. We know that. Atlanta's in front of Nashville. Atlanta's in front of Charlotte. And it shows. I mean, it's obvious with Mercedes-Benz. It's obvious with just the city. But you don't want to get so far away. Why? Economic development and jobs and, prestige, stuff like that. I mean, New York always has this thing where the only team that plays in New York are the Bills. And they're not in New York City. So, that's a little bit of a key turner all the time up there. But this is going to be a very nice thing for Georgia and Florida. For all of Kirby's hand-wringing about recruiting and so forth, I'm not saying he's wrong. What I'm saying is you've got something here that nobody else is. The Cotton Bowl's not like this, man. The Cotton Bowl was a dump. Now, it's not as much anymore. The Cotton Bowl's not like this. The only teams that come close to playing in a situation like this are A&M and Arkansas. And I think, this is just, I don't know. I thought they were going back to campus, but I'm not. I could be wrong about that. And if I do, I'm staying corrected. But they don't have the tradition that Georgia and Florida has. And they don't have this. Now, I will say this to the new mayor of Jacksonville or whoever. Take me seriously or don't, whatever. But around the stadium has got to be nicer. And I'm not making a socioeconomic statement here. I'm talking about logistically, it's got to be nicer. It's not nice. It's hard to move around. Y'all don't have really any public transit that matters. So it's very hard to move around. And you're talking about putting this stadium, according to the release from the city, is going to hold 71,500 for a college football game. So that's a little over 35,000 Georgia fans that are going to go down there. In the past, it's been 42,000, right? To get to the 42,000 when Jacksonville held 84,000. Well, they're chopping 6,500 seats off, which they've already started doing. But it's got to be a pleasant experience to be down there. Now, listen to me, Jacksonville people. I know some of y'all, and I know some of y'all watch these. It's got to be nicer. And if you're spending all this money on it, make it to where it's really, really nice. I liked SoFi. I thought it was, but there's nothing around it. Like, it was still being built and all this stuff. Make it to where it's a nice place to go to. You won't hear the grumbling anymore. The biggest challenge to this game for Georgia, Florida is that it's not run well. Florida should not be running this game exclusively. Okay? And that's not a dig at Florida. That's not their job. That's not what they should be doing. They should not be running a neutral site game. It should be the Gator Bowl. It should be, the city of Jacksonville. That's who it should be that runs this game. And I guarantee you it would make it nicer. That's my guess. I'm talking from a media perspective. I'm talking from a travel perspective. There's got to be that. Don't forget that part. That part is really important. I know I ramble, but it's not easy to get in and out of that stadium. And it needs to be better. And that's just all there is to it. The parking around the stadium, it's just a train wreck. That game is too much of a train wreck before the game and after, frankly. It looks like a tornado comes through there half the time. I know it's the world's largest cocktail party and all this stuff, but there's things that need to be nicer about Georgia, Florida, and here's your chance to do so.